unmute. You can hear my voice live. Let's switch to it. Hey, reviewers, welcome. This is the 5,000 subscriber Q&A. It's also the April 2022 Patreon Q&A. One and the same, just like we do during the holidays. How you doing? I'm Nick. I am joined by my co-pilot here, Baldy, and I want to let you know that this is not elaborate masking. This is not some digital effect. This is not me just reflected onto the other side of the screen. We are distinctly different people in different portions of the country, and that it's just how it worked out somehow.
And it's not a requirement to be bald to join the Patreon.
Yeah, or white or men.
Right. Or beard, facial hair, microphone, arm holder things. None of that's necessary.
This
is
just
what it is.
This is a $15 armature from Amazon. This is the one that Rain has too. So you can get them from all places, really. But wow.
Yeah, I don't even remember. I just grabbed one and threw it up there to look kind of as cool as you. And then here we go. My pop filter's down there somewhere.
Mine doesn't bend outward like that. And I don't quite understand. I don't understand. I think that's where I'm at.
Yeah.
Just the way it mounts and whatever. How are you doing this morning? It is this morning. We usually don't stream this time of day.
Right.
But it's a very special live stream, and 5,000 subscribers.
Impressive.
Yeah.
Seems like just the other day you were at 4,999.
I know. I tell you what, getting the first 4,999 are easy. It's the 5,000th. That's the more difficult one. So Baldy is here. It was my co-pilot. You're going to be kind of just leading the show here. I'm just going to turn this over. We've got some Q&A, well, some Q's. We're going to provide some A's and kind of chat it up. Provided from, normally, if you're a Patreon producer, so assistant producer and executive producer, you can actually contribute questions to the monthly Q&A. And I'll answer them in patron exclusive content and videos and stuff like that. But since this is a very special occasion, anyone who has a question, you can drop that in. Hello there, Kayla. How you doing? Is that a duck? It looks like a duck with a hammer. Anyway,
somebody waving. Yeah.
I'll let you talk for a bit here, or at least set it up.
Excellent. Well, thanks for letting me, kind of needle my way into your shindig here. I happened upon you a while back from a small little video you may remember called Deus Ex. You remember that one? Deus Ex. There it was. Deus Ex.
That was a popular video. Was it Mankind or was the original?
No, it was not the original because I didn't find that until way later on.
Gotcha.
And I stuck around and I watched it literally just because the length of the video. That was one of those things. It was like, I don't have time for somebody to give me a 10-minute spiel. I need to get down into the weeds of this and get super nerdy.
I don't need this 15-minute nonsense just long enough to do the ad roll.
It's like, what do? Do you think I have a real life going on here? No, I am sitting in my chair on a Friday night watching somebody rant about a game that I just played, and I wanted to see what you thought about it. So that was the one that got me in and hooked. And I've been here around since then. So
in the Discord, you
very
are
nice,
in and around the Discord, putting in your Wordle. Thank you, Summer of Mark. Hey guys, congrats on the 5K. Absolutely, we couldn't have done it without you. Couldn't have done it without you, Baldy.
It's been very nice to see all these people showing up and kind of coming in there. Do you remember the first thing you ever live streamed? What do you, by any chance, remember the first time you were ever live on the interwebs? What was that?
Yeah. That was. I'm gonna pull back from the microphone here. You can sit down. You can relax. I know I'm talking to the dog. It was last March because Rain had really inspired me to go live and do live streaming content because because I don't like watching streamers. I don't like
Okay.
watching gameplay streamers. I don't really get it. I don't understand the waterfall chat where there's so many people that no one sees anything or reads it. People are just pitching into the void, and you don't get anything out of it. And I don't know how to. And the streamer's not paying attention to it. And some people are really like they're paying attention to the chat too much, or they're not paying attention to the chat enough. I'm definitely
Yeah.
toward the latter. But the first live stream was last year. We did technically there was a test to make sure that the thing worked and OBS was set up. But the first episode of the Green Room was last March, and I played XCOM UFO Defense live, and that was
Okay.
a pain in the butt to get going because it was in a DOS box thing, and I think I had to sit there on the stream and figure it out how to get this DOS box thing to project properly onto the screen, and that was really
You
fun.
had never streamed anything live prior to that one.
No, I
Wow,
don't
okay.
think so. No, I think it was if I'm not going to do this all the way, there's no point in doing it at all.
Gotcha.
Because I know consoles have the streaming built in. Like you can just press a button, and you can just later
Yeah.
download the VOD and bring that into your editor of choice, and cut it up and do your memes and things like that. But no, before that, I cannot think of any time I've ever been live on the internet in video format that wasn't on a call or video
Okay.
call.
Yeah, I know that
Yeah.
some people kind of dabbled back in the day. I can remember YouTube being, hey, you want to know how to change for the one I looked it up. Here's how to program your thermostat. And it was just
Uh-huh.
like a 2-minute video, really bland, but that's what it was. And so I just wondered if you had maybe stumbled into it earlier on. But last year, if that was your first live stream,
Mm-hmm.
you've come a long way in a relatively short period of time.
What's interesting is that a lot of the stuff that I've generated for this is exactly the same stuff I generated a year ago for all that. With all the different scenes and things like that. It's easier to do this
Yeah.
because we're starting the Creator Corner interview series. Getting a number of those in the can, and you'll
Yeah.
be my co-pilot in there. I'm really, really excited about that. But the logistics of getting multiple people, excuse me, and audio not desyncing and stuff like that,
Right.
that was a pain. When we did the forum last year, I did a whole set of scenes for that as well.
Right.
And we did it all by Skype because Skype uses NDI as their protocol, so you can sort out individual audio streams instead of it just
Okay.
being the group audio from Skype. And so getting that together was interesting, but it was also an extra set of variables to control. And like we were talking before the stream started about wanting to have someone else handle all the technical stuff live
Yes.
while you can
Yes.
just be a personality and answer questions. That whole thing was interesting.
So, where did those bees come from that are on the starting soon screen? The bees that are bouncing around.
Those are photographs of bees that I have. I didn't realize I loved bees until a few years ago, so I started collecting bees.
Okay.
So I've got
Yeah, yeah,
a
I like
tiny, yeah, I got one of the buzzettes here. I've got a mid-size one. When I'm doing the live gaming stream, you see the big buzzy.
Right.
He's over there with the critters.
Okay.
Over right now. But yeah, I just photograph it, and it just becomes a ping, and then I actually for when it's loading up, and then in the background, someone made an OBS plugin that replicated the DVD logo filter, where it's bouncing around the corners of the screen. So
Yeah.
I took that and then just changed it to a picture of the bees,
Oh,
and I put
nice.
that in there as well.
That's clever.
That's all that is.
There
Just
you
bouncing
go.
off the edges, like bing, 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 and then you can set the variable for speed and stuff like that. So they're not. So if you want, you can tell if the stream has been waiting a little bit if the bees are still together because they start together and then they kind of over time gradually start spreading out.
It's like an Easter egg, huh?
Exactly. Now you know, you got the inside knowledge.
Only on this channel.
Only only on the Nth Review can you learn about the Nth Review.
On the so in you kind of had the channel up for a while and went through a reboot. Is that correct?
That's correct. Two years ago, April 6th.
So in all
2
that
years ago.
time, yeah, that's almost just 2 years. What has proven true or false about some of those YouTube/streamer cliches? Because you've got nowadays the algorithm and the thumbnail deal where you have to have one of those shocking faces and a
Yeah.
question of you won't believe. Is any of that proven true or difficult or weird? Speak on any of those parts.
There's been all kinds. There's a lot of stuff that is true and a lot of stuff that isn't. And
Yeah.
it all, at the root of it, you don't know what the algorithm is going to do. It's there are a lot of people on. I like to go on the YouTuber subreddits, the small YouTuber subreddits, and give unsolicited advice or just give advice that way. What people, it's a lottery. Just holistically, it's a lottery. And what you'll have people do is they will pitch you that the way you win the lottery is, and I talked with this with Rain about it as well, is the way to win the lottery is to buy the lottery ticket really well. And so it doesn't matter. Maybe you go to a Come and Go, maybe go to a 7-Eleven, maybe you go to a liquor store and you buy your lottery ticket. Maybe you go drive there on an Lexus, maybe you're bicycling there, but you have to do the best you can. The hard work is going to that store and buying that lottery ticket. And if you buy 2 lottery tickets, that's twice as much. If you mortgage your house and buy a whole bunch of lottery tickets, that's even more. That's the hard work.
Yeah.
And inevitably, because you bought that lottery ticket, you are going to win. Because every person who has ever won the lottery bought a lottery ticket. And so what people don't understand is the luck component of the entire, basically, organization of success. And it's not just YouTube, it's everywhere. People think YouTube is some exclusive thing.
It could be Spotify.
You could be, it could be Spotify. It could be because Spotify even uses algorithms. Even on Twitch, some random dude, some random big streamer might be searching through whatever game you're playing and be like, I'm going to raid this dude with my 3,000 people that are in my chat on this other streamer who's only got 2. And you can't control that. That's luck. What you cannot control is luck. You can made it up to a point, but eventually there's a point where you have to concede and be like, I've done my best. I have to hand this over to God or whoever or whatever and let that be the journey. So, yes, you have to have the cheese face thumbnail. I'm constantly tweaking titles of videos.
Yeah.
To see like, well, maybe this gives it a bump, and watching the click-through ratio change. Can you go sit down? Are you okay?
Yeah, I have a few guys that I'll follow on other Discords, and sometimes they'll put up 2 or 3 thumbnails and say, which one? 1, 2, or 3?
Yeah.
And because that could drive a lot, I don't remember what it was, or I will never know what made the algorithm put Nth Review up for me.
Yeah.
But I know I wasn't searching for it. I think I was searching for Deus Ex, but I didn't know the word long form video,
right,
essay, or LOFOs, as some people call it.
Yeah.
But it showed up, and that could have just as well been anybody else for the lottery, and I'd be watching somebody else right now, missing out on all this awesomeness.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Absolutely. You're absolutely right, and the having the thumbnail there, and even just seeing the time, because you'll have people who are into a particular niche, they're in playing a particular game.
Yes.
And there's a ceiling there of how many people you're going to attract, how many impressions YouTube is going to set up for you. You're not going to get, if you make a a video about some obscure game, chances are you're not going to have as much success as Minecraft. But since everyone is also doing Minecraft, it's a red ocean. You're going to get eaten probably and not see any success unless you've got some very unique spin on why is this different. Like you were saying, oh, it's Deus Ex, it's Mankind Divided, but it's a longer video. That's what you're looking for. Whereas there's a billion videos out there that are about that. It's the Deus Ex Mankind Divided review, and it's 10 minutes long. It's 15. It's just scratching the surface. And
right.
I'm editing the video right now where I actually talk about how I make these video essays end to end. And it's going to be over an hour long. It's going to be like an hour and 20 minutes long or so when everything's said and done. But the whole process of picking the game and going through all of that is very elaborate, but I try to lay it out as best I can in a way that, like, not to inspire copycats, but to be like, maybe think about creation in this way. So yeah, and to answer your question, there are a lot of myths about success on YouTube. I mean, this is still 5,000 is really, really cool. And most of it came this year.
Yeah, it's almost exponential growth.
Yeah, and that's how it comes on YouTube. It's slowly and then suddenly all at once. And it's mind-blowing. And so there's a lot of myths, there's a lot of things that people believe that are incorrect because they just want to sound like the smartest person in the room.
Sure. And again, that's part of the thing too, is if they can make one of those, people click on that. You know, I've lost count recently of how many bizarre thumbnails I've seen of, like, I watch a lot of science stuff, and it'll be a meteor hitting right smack in the middle of Nebraska or something. They'll say scientists predicting something. It's like, it's not that, but part of me wants to click it just to see how stupid it would be, but that would give them those extra views, and I refuse.
And that is there is a line there toward what's going to be what's clickbait and then what's just enticing for someone to click into. At a point you can go full misleading about what's in what is the actual content of this video, to entice people to get in, but you don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. And so all of mine are kind of just experimentations around what can I say in the title of a video to make you want to click this video and watch it to the very last. I think I got it in the first 5 seconds, although statistics may disagree.
Yeah.
If I've got you in the first 5 minutes, I've got you in the first 5 hours.
So if viewers don't watch the whole way, do you get a metric for that? Does it tell you?
Well, it doesn't. So it's not that. It doesn't tell you like, hey, someone only watched for 20 minutes. But I can tell you, like, right now, every single person who clicks on any video on the nth review, right now, any video, doesn't even matter if it's not even that long, they watch for an average of 33.5 minutes.
Okay.
And so the fact that then skews, like, there are enough people watching 5 hours video or 3 hours of video to offset the fact that some videos are only 12 minutes long. Or that's how long people are watching the content and the videos, and that is something. What, like, the 5,000. Rain and I were talking. The 1,800 was the size of the assembly in high school. They'd have an assembly. They'd pull out the risers from the walls of the gymnasium, and that was 1,800 people. Yeah. And I can picture 1,800 people, but then 5,000? Like, to take that double and a half?
Right, and it's a lot. And real quick, look at the chat. I'm going to interrupt you very quickly. Conrad's in there thanking us, telling you it's nearly 1 a.m. in Australia, where he's keeping up with it here. Wanted to thank you for everything and say he hopes it keeps going well.
Yeah, thank you, Conrad.
You got Australian fans. Did you think about that in assembly in high school, that you'd have people watching you from Australia?
From Australia, no. I didn't, but also I was thinking I was going to work at DreamWorks when I was in high school, so I thought it would be DreamWorks and not Pixar, but that was where I was at that age. It is so cool to see people from Australia, from Eastern Europe, Britain, the Netherlands, even just across the country. This country is bigger than a lot of Europe. And so it is really cool to see people who have different experiences, and we're going to be interviewing them, chatting with some over these next few weeks.
I know you got a lot of neat ones lined up. That's going to be interesting to see how they all play out.
I'm so excited to hear other creators and their journeys and their perspectives. Like, what was it like to grow up with PC gaming beyond the Iron Curtain when a lot of stuff was pirated? I miss Kaz. Kaz was one of the first superstars of the Discord. He would be in the stream chats for a while, but he's from Brazil, and he would have perspectives on like the illegal consoles that would show up there. That's the only way they could sell them. And would absolutely love to chat with him, but he's been out.
Yeah,
but yeah, you're absolutely right. It just these different places, and doing long reviews was something that was not very popular when I started.
Right.
At all. So the fact that I've gone even longer, because when I started it was only 35-40 minutes long.
And what's your longest one so far?
It's still Thief, 5 hours and 16 minutes.
Wow.
I think that's where we're at on that. But they've like the average, the mean has gotten longer over time. Sure. Bonk.
Yeah. Well, speaking of your journey, what's a day in the life or a week in the life like for you right now? Because you're not at a spot yet where you're able to do this full time.
Right.
And you still need regular day jobs, menial things to pay the bills. And I know a lot of content creators started under really tough conditions. Angry Video Game Nerd put out one years ago showing how he would come home super tired and be trying to get all this content hammered out. What is your world like? Trying to get your content in? How do you handle it on those days where you're super stressed from you've got pets, you've got bills, you've got 2 or 3 jobs, family? How do you balance? What is it all like for you?
It's a lot of dreaming of compartmentalization and usually being successful, and then sometimes just burning the heck out. With System Shock and Grand Theft Auto 5 in particular, usually I would take my time in that last bit, the edit stage, and I wouldn't edit more than about 5 to 7 minutes a day, and it got to the point where it's like, man, the sooner I get this out, the sooner the algorithm can get onto it, and if the sooner the algorithm can get to it, the greater the chances that it'll hit, and the channel will blow up more, and so it's like, those crunches, they are literally crunches, just like in video game that are developers are notorious for, infamous for. I would do that to myself. And so I've had to step away from that for the sake of my own mental health, because after Grand Theft Auto, I was wiped out for 2 weeks, essentially. I couldn't do anything else creatively, which was actually a pretty good way to impose a break on myself. Because
are you able to decompress in those times and kind of just...
You had to. It's like, what else are you gonna do? You're gonna stay knotted up and clenched fists. It's impossible. So I try to take care of life as it happens, and it's so cute seeing the cat passed out on the carpet.
I bet that helps.
That's he's nuts. Meow, meow, meow.
So what's an average day like? And I know you got a couple of jobs, and you don't need to necessarily name them all.
Yeah, but I'm not gonna. Yeah, no, absolutely.
I would. Well, I tell you what. Before we get there, what are some of the jobs you've had? Because I know you've worked several part-time jobs throughout your career, and I guess people are curious in general. You've mentioned a few in other streams. So, what are the different roles or things that you've done?
I've done a lot of entry. My resume is almost completely useless. This would be to be completely frank. Yeah. My first job, I worked at Best Buy for 10 years, and I really wanted to help improve their gaming business. So I wrote a white paper a couple years in when I got depressed. I took depression and flipped that into how do I improve the business for not just me, but everyone else at the store level. And I did corporate work for a time. And so then that ended, and then I did like call center work. I worked overnights at Walmart for a couple years, and this whole time I I'd been to school with Orzine. I went there for 9 months. It was very expensive, and I didn't get my degree, and I don't have, I guess, a robust enough portfolio. But I've tried over the years to get into creative work, but
Right.
I'm not specifically good at any one thing. Jack of all trades, right?
Right.
So
Yes.
it'd be like I wanna get into I do graphic design, so let me do graphic design. So I'll apply for a graphic design job. Won't hear back. And then if I do, it's kind of like, well, we went with someone else who has experience and a good portfolio and whatever. And so I try for different, like, let me get into video editing. No, there's these college kids that have been doing, and they got After Effects experience, stuff like that. It's like, cool.
It
So
does feel like in the tech world there, it's very much what's the current flavor of the month, because if you know something a year or two later, it may not be as impressive as those younger kids.
yeah, and the cool thing, and I'm never gonna. I agree that college is overhyped. I also agree that the student debt should be pardoned because it was overhyped for so long at the detriment of tens of millions of people.
Yeah.
But at the same time, school is a very good structured environment to learn things and things that
Yeah.
you may not even consider. You can sit here and watch YouTube tutorials all day long, but you may not be getting and understanding fundamental things. And
Plus, it's
that's
a learning how to learn, and it's a learning how you learn. Like I learned, I
right.
can't just sit and listen. I won't get it off. I just sit and listen. I have to actively make myself take notes, and then I have to actively choose to practice and review at home.
Right. It's the same thing with learning After Effects and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I've learned After Effects like 3 times,
Yeah.
because I would learn it with the intent of using it. I would use it for a little bit and then not use it, and then that knowledge just goes completely to rot. And there are
Yeah.
people who are After Effects wizards, and I
Yeah.
would hire one of those someday. I
Yeah.
do barely enough to do chapters, and I import stuff from Illustrator enough to be dangerous, but not to do anything crazy. So my day is basically I wake up at 5 a.m. every single morning,
Okay.
and then I curate my day jobs. I've got a couple of day jobs and
Okay.
weekends off, to basically to pay the bills, and then I shave those down so I'm not staying up too late,
Sure.
because when you're waking up at 5 and you're getting home at 10, that's fine when you're 22, not when you're 37. So
Yeah.
so
Do you try to
otherwise,
do video work on a regular work day, or do you
every
try
single day.
to push it off? Yeah.
Maybe not video work per se, but
Sure. For the
writing.
channel. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Writing, interviewing, this or that. Maybe I'm actually literally editing one video. This is obviously a live stream. This will be up in a bit. I have to go into Illustrator and design all the screens and stuff for the creative corner, so
And
that
you capture a lot of your own footage as well, right?
I capture all of my footage,
All of
absolutely.
it. Okay, there you go.
So I've got to make sure that the hard drives are cleared, stuff like that. I actually really need to do a backup just to be sure.
Yeah.
I don't want a fatal issue happening and I lose my root Premiere file or whatever, or have to rebuild from scratch. That would be a bummer. But yeah, I'm constant. Every time I can squeeze it in and not feel like I'm like depriving myself of oxygen or wearing
Right.
myself out, I will always be working on something. I'll have YouTube open over here, and I've got a queue of 48 videos I'm up to on this one that I'll just have playing, and then I'll have to cut
Yeah.
that out, pause that while I edit over here, and then I'll bounce back when I need a break from this, and
Right.
it's constantly working on a couple of different things. So everything all the time. So not being able to find creative work has been kind of a blessing, because then that's allowed me to see that the value in being a jack of all trades and being able to tie it all together.
Yeah.
Because these reviews come out of, hey, I'm doing all of these different things, putting them together. No one would hire me for this full time, but enough people give me $1 or $5 or $10 a month that
Yeah.
I could potentially in the future do this as a thing. And people don't. That's hard for even for me to understand.
How was that coming around to Patreon then? Because You've got links for it at the bottom. That's how I found you. There's a
Yep.
Discord benefit for it. Um, and in the chat, CW Train said they installed Deus Ex, reinstalled it last night after watching your review, and said, "Oh yeah, I need to play that again."
That's absolutely right. Yeah, thanks for hopping in, Train. CW Train.
I'll do that too. I'll see a video from you or something else like CW Train, and I'll say, "Hey, it's been a little while." I'll do that. My
Yeah.
big thing is I don't know if we've ever talked about it, but I like this game called Fallout.
Fa-
Yeah,
Fallout,
yes,
pretty
yeah,
solid
oh yeah.
game. Yeah.
And I've probably reinstalled that a million times after watching viewers. But you mentioned you do have viewers and supporters. How did you arrive at the decision to open Patreon and go with that?
And I will mention really briefly that Deus Ex is known fundamentally as the game that you reinstall every single time you just hear it mentioned. It's just fundamentally. So Patreon, actually, this is the second time I had started Patreon. I started Patreon back in 2015, I think it was, and I think if you stay around to the end of a couple of the first, I think Destiny, I think it's Destiny. You actually hear me pitch the first Patreon,
Okay.
but I was still under 100 subscribers. It took me 3 years to get to 200 subscribers ish,
Yeah.
and so the first Patreon I put out there, no one bit,
Okay.
and I had it up for I don't know like a couple months, and it's like, um, let me just tuck my tail between my legs and just kind of turn this off, and then in 2020, after rebooting the channel and starting getting a little bit of traction, I started up again. I can't remember what the thing was because I don't know. It just felt more lively, but it's
Yeah.
like I'm just gonna whatever. Let's just go for it, and I did, and it got a couple subscribers off the bat, and it's just been gradually growing. And
Right.
Kirby really helped out with this last video. He stepped
Hey,
in when I
that was a
wasn't
really
looking.
good video. Is then I'm thinking that video is still posted on your channel that later on after this stream people could go back and watch it.
Yeah, the Grand Theft Auto 5 review, he just snuck in when I
Yeah.
wasn't looking. He recorded himself, he stole my camera, he edited himself, and he's like, help my dad with this
For
Patreon.
not having opposable digits, his editing skills are better than mine.
Oh my god. He's better than
Yeah.
mine sometimes. He was using all the different wipes. He was using all
That
the
was
different things
really
that I was.
impressive.
Yeah, absolutely.
On the Patreon, a lot of time people will say, like in my house in particular, we do that the YouTube banter bit whenever we're trying to get somebody to do a thing, and we'll say, "Hey, pound that like button, hit that bell."
Right. Like and
Anytime
subscribe. Help me out with
right.
the algorithm.
Does the Patreon really make a difference on that? Is like a buck or two from a couple of different people a month really helpful to you?
1000%. And I mentioned it in a couple subreddits, and people have some really nasty comments in that. The Patreon allowed me, when I was in really hard times last year, to just help buy food. It wasn't, it'd be $30, $50, even $70. People would do like one-time contributions. And there are other ways you can do buy me a coffee or buymeacoffee.com/nth review if you want to support the channel just one time and not have to go
Right.
through the Patreon thing. But just having a regular monthly thing beyond the paychecks was so helpful at times to just survive. So when you're giving $1 to someone, because I'm a patron to other people as well. When you give
Right.
$1, $5, $10 to help them out, and it's not like quite like the Starbucks thing where you're just paying. You have the chains of people buying each other's coffee, but
Yeah.
it's the showing the support because the money does come in, but it goes to creators. And
Yeah.
so when you're giving $1 or $5 or $10 to a creator, it's tangibly helping them out, especially when this is kind of their side gig and they're trying to make it real. it's beyond just, oh, they're using this money to buy a game. It's like, no, they might need that to help pay rent.
Yeah.
Or make sure that they're not kicked out on the street, or make sure that their critters are taken care of.
Right. Have Bacon in the chat was asking who is Kirby, and that's
Yeah.
your cat unofficial mascot, and if nothing else, you know he's covered thanks to Patreon.
Exactly. And then as the channel is blown up, the YouTube revenue helps as well. So just the different way. If I had a merch store, it'd be the same way. I did masks 2 years ago, and it was still too small for it to matter.
Sure.
But they're really cool, and I lost them. So
Do you see this as every dollar as almost like a vote of confidence or an expression of support for you and your work?
yeah, absolutely. I mean, the comments in that help. You know, when someone's like, "Man, I'm in a really tough time. This review of this game that's 2 hours long really helped me out."
Yeah.
People who are like, "Man, I put this on and it really helps me wind down after a bad day." Or one of my favorites too is, I'm not even interested in this game, but the way that you present it and the way that you talk about it, I'm really interested in seeing that. I have that relationship with Grimbeard. I don't know if you're familiar. Grimbeard does these awesome videos, Goth Gamer Nation.
Right.
I will watch his, doesn't matter what game he's playing. Kirby, stop eating the cabinets. I will watch his videos no matter what, even if I'm not interested in the game, just because he's so entertaining. And so people to say that about, you know, the Nth reviews and that is so rad. And I love being able to be that person.
Yeah. That would be a pretty neat one to get into.
Yeah. Yeah,
You know?
absolutely.
Speaking of some of your interest, it's well known by anybody who watches your videos. You're a pretty big sports guy.
Huge.
Right. How much sportsing do you sports on average?
I sport so many balls.
Yes.
I am throwing them all the time. They're bouncing. Right. They are all over the place. I'm a huge fan of end zones.
Yes.
And goals.
Gotta have end zones.
And when I get end zone goals, I'm typically ecstatic.
Yes.
About that. I like watching the number go up. Red team versus blue team.
Numbers going up is way better than numbers going down.
Unless you're golf.
Yes.
And then
is
numbers...
that? Yeah, probably. It's hard to say. Golf is, you know, its own thing. So how
I love golf clubs and greens.
You know, walking, hitting things, chasing things in the underbrush.
Walking fast.
Yes.
Go-karting.
Being quiet.
Yeah. Just looking the part.
Do you know the first time that you did the sports gag in one of your videos?
I think it was Deus Ex.
Okay.
I genuinely think it was Deus, because it was about the basketball hoop. In New York.
Okay.
And
I never made that. Did you? Has anybody watching
never
made that?
Ever made that. I've made it to that section of that game half a dozen times, and I just, oh my god, I've never been able to. I can't figure it out. I can't mentally physics how that the ball should go in there, so then I can't get it in there myself, because it's almost like a cannon. It's almost like you're shooting a gun at the hoop.
Yep.
So
there's not a trajectory to it. It's just almost like, and it doesn't bounce the way I think it should.
Yeah, so it's almost like you have to just aim at the sky, and hopefully it comes back down in a way that makes sense.
And did you plan for sports to become a thing, or had that just kind of happened?
Yes and no.
Okay.
Every time I do a bit, I think, man, I could really take this into the future, can I? And I'm going to be honest, I put those in there, and I kind of wait in the comments to be like, someone mention the bit, please. I really thought about that.
Yeah.
I thought it was really funny. And then no one does, and it's like, all right, well, I'm just going to put in the next one and see if someone catches it there.
I just like it. There's a few you do where like the name flashes up and it's gone, right? Sports.
Yeah. The title card. Yeah, I love those.
Those are really great. In the chat, I'm not sure. Is this Shkotsky? Almost
Shkatsky.
reminds me of Schlotsky. It
Yeah,
says
that's
Reddit versus
every time.
Discord. Right? I don't know
Yeah.
if that's just my hungry self who wants a sandwich all the time.
Yeah.
Reddit versus Discord. So I do a lot more Discord lately than Reddit. What's your take?
I do. They're in such different capacities. Sub on Reddit's, I can kind of ping pong around and just be there. Discords are tough, and the end review Discord, which everyone should hop into. Well, I think I've got the invite link down below. You can hop in.
Really should everybody hop in there.
It's really fun. Shkotsky's in there, and not Schlotsky.
Yes. No.
But we're in
Schlotsky
there.
can join us. The
Yeah,
official
come-
Schlotsky account.
Yeah.
Come on over.
If your name is Schlotsky,
Bring a
come join
sandwich
us.
tray. We'll
Yeah,
hang out.
Sports. But when handling the Nth Review Discord is really cool. It feels like a web forum. Like back because I grew up on web forums, so being
Yeah,
able to have that
bulletin
community.
board.
What's that?
Almost like bulletin boards.
Yes, absolutely. Back in the V Bulletin days.
What was it? PHP, BB?
The
Ones that you
V
could all
Bulletin,
kind of like
PHP,
grab that and throw it in your own rudimentary. I want to be cool.
Yeah, there were people who are like making up their own
Yeah.
bulletin board stuff that didn't have any features, and who knows
Yep.
where those people are today. And
Yeah.
but
Probably
doing-
don't have 5,000 subs.
Right. Yeah, you're gonna have you and your 3 friends after the first week. Discords are a little tough because each one is so individual, and each Discord has like their own celebrities and that. Where on Reddit, it kind of just feels like a bunch of random people.
Yeah.
And so you don't feel the need to be like, oh, here's the top dog, here's the popular person, here's the hierarchy. It feels flatter, and I like that because, like when you're in the community, it makes sense. But when you're not, you feel like an alien who's just kind of looking in through the window. And that's what Discord feels like.
And I put a link in the chat for one of mine, League of Adult Gamers. Kayla was in here earlier. She's a super sweet person from Canada. Don't hold it against her.
Sorry.
If you mispronounce Quebec, she'll tell you because that's the one I always forget. That one I picked because I'm 44 and I got tired of jumping into different places. Like, hey, we're going to have a good discussion talk. And it's all, if you don't like this character, you can get out. And I was, like you're saying, to me, Discord hits the best when you find your community. And it almost needs to be smaller rather than bigger in terms of what it encompasses.
Yes.
So with yours, it's really pronounced a lot like, I saw him say pronounced in the chat and I got distracted. It's really focused, pronounced about content and creators. You're very open about letting people plug the stuff they're into,
Right.
helping them with things. Everybody can chime in and say, I'm having a problem with this app or whatever. And if you get into some of the bigger ones, like I tried finding some for anime and manga, and they were just massive. And it was almost a waterfall chat. I'd have to turn them all off because everything went too fast.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a local streaming house down to Quest, but they do a lot of like the crypto stuff, and it's a 420.
Okay, yeah.
One of those houses, and they're cool dudes. But as someone who doesn't watch gaming streams and then isn't into the crypto and then isn't a 420 guy, it's like I don't know how I fit into these conversations. So when someone hops into the Nth Review Discord and there's like 2 or 3 people who immediately jump on that person like, hey, hello, welcome, that's really cool to see because I want everyone who shows up to have this onboarding where they can feel like, hey, this is a place where I can share my stuff, because you kind of want a place where you're not like got your trench coat up, hiding the thing that you do.
Right.
Hiding your content, and I don't see it as advertising unless you really are just one of those people who comes in and advertises. But being able to work together.
Yeah, you don't want them dropping in going, hey, love what you do, and then their next post is, by the way, here's my stream.
Yeah, and then they disappear entirely.
Right.
Like,
and
I don't mind if you come in and dump your stream and then like you're part of the community, but if you're not gonna like hang out. Like, what's up?
Yeah. We had talked a little bit earlier about some of these. G Manny from our Discord here had put in a chat question asking you about the snowball mic and or pop filter scenario. So I'm
Yeah.
sure now you've got a lot of stuff you'd like to say about that mic.
Yeah, we are having so many fun little issues, even just in the half hour leading up to getting this started. Uh, I, I am for when I started streaming, I was actually talking to my pal Rain about needing a new microphone. He's like, I got a new microphone, or I've got a microphone I'm not using. You can have it. And for whatever reason, it didn't work out that way. I just kept using this because this one would just stop working spontaneously. And it would be like a driver issue. It'd be like a this issue. It'd be a that issue. And it just wouldn't work. And I'd be like, man, how am I going to do streaming if I have this unreliable microphone? And so I'm very convinced that the port on here, which I learned from the TechPod, USB ports have a duty rating, which is how many times you can plug and unplug them before they just become useless, and any plug you try to plug in will just
Now
fall
I'm all
out.
looking at mine wondering about it. Okay.
Yeah,
That
exactly.
kind of makes sense.
I mean, it does, because entropy, like, eventually the universe will reclaim everything that we have ever built, including us.
Yeah.
And so eventually I'm going to replace this, but then and I kind of glance at it a little bit in the how I make my video essays thing, but the next step up that isn't just replacing this with another one of these
Right.
is doing the whole XLR mic
Yes.
that's just permanently connected into there, and then plug that into a preamp mixer, and then plug that into the computer by USB.
For my music recording and singing, I have an XLR.
Yeah.
And it's already worlds better. I'm like, man, I really need to get over and do that. I got this for a gift years ago. I got a Blue Yeti, and it's amazing for what I do.
Yeah.
Which is a whole lot. I have the pop filter that's on the mic.
Yeah.
And I have, when I'm recording music, I have another one I can put up. But for right now, it's mostly just...
Is that USB
like
there? Just a,
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. When Brad Shoemaker on the TechPod switched from I think he had a Blue Yeti something, and by the way, I took this microphone from a friend and then never gave it back. So this was 7 years ago or so.
That's what friends are there for.
That's
so.
what they're there for, absolutely. But he switched to a standalone mic setup, and he sounds like he's in a studio.
Nice.
And I imagine, yeah, as you're doing your music, you want that full fidelity XLR power, phantom power, all that stuff in there.
And it does need a preamp, and it's kind of like the school of thought of you want the least moving parts that allows you to get the job done.
Yes.
So for me, gaming and streaming, chatting with y'all, it's just USB in. But when I really get serious, I'll bring out the more stuff.
Yes. And eventually it'd be cool to have a studio where everything is just permanently wired and ready to go. And then the pop filter, I don't know. Hang on. So this is the pop filter, and this is kind of how close I am to the microphone because I'm looking at this monitor. I've got Google Docs up at 150% size.
And do you record? You record with that exact mic?
With looking exactly like this.
Got it.
Exactly like this.
Right.
But if I pull down the pop filter, I don't know if my plosives or my pops or my popsicles sound any worse.
It's a little hotter in terms of we hear you a little brighter.
Yeah.
And honestly, what I always hear more of is the sibilant S at the end of some of the words.
Yeah, some of the words and the cycles of silenced, slappies, Samsonites. I
watched a video of what's his name who plays Bender on Futurama.
Joe DiMaggio.
And he was talking about how he recorded. It's there is called Behind. I think it's called In a World, and it's about voice actors. And he would take something like a pen or a pencil for plosives, and you put it right here when you're about to speak because it kind of splits it going out. When you talk. So I'm not that fancy, Bender. In our chat,
plosives.
Yeah.
Okay.
See?
That's smart.
Yeah, it's kind of neat. Have bacon and Schlotsky or Schlotsky. We're talking with us here about a couple of different things, and one of them that you and I had talked about in the past was the interaction with the content creator when you join a channel. And I think sometimes there's an expectation of, hey, I'm paying you money. So now that I'm in your Discord, you talk to me and you acknowledge me and you laugh at my jokes. And then some other guys are more like, hey, I'm just here in the background. I don't really need to interact. How do you balance your role in that without feeling like you've got to entertain us, your patrons?
I'm gonna be honest. I have no idea. I thought it would be more of an even Steven kind of thing where like one half is, yeah, I'm just giving you $1 every month, like do what
Yeah.
you want, this is free money I'm not gonna ever see again. And then the other half would be, man, when do I get to do something? Where's my I need you,
Yeah.
man. And it turns out it's like, I don't know, 99.9 to 0.01 of like, man, just do what you want to do.
Yeah.
I have not had the demanding patron who needs me to do something for them, or I will constantly even be in the Patreon. Like I've got open comment for the new Prey review 2006. I'm like, hey guys, you can contribute some
Yeah.
words to the review. I haven't had anything yet. You
Yeah.
talked about 2017,
Yeah.
but it's like I want to provide those windows
Right,
and make
right.
it feel like I'm actually providing a value. But then when I don't get anything back, and I'm not complaining,
Sure,
but
sure.
but when I don't get anything back, it's like, well, maybe I'm just doing the right thing.
I think
And
it's a good balance with yours because in the chat, Have Bacon was saying when the discords become too chatty as an outsider, you can't really get noticed
right,
because there's always people willing to put more time in. I would say capable. During the day, I'm not able to Discord. So all my Discord is from about 6 to 9 p.m. my time.
right,
So anything during the day, I miss.
right.
And I don't want to feel behind. But it's kind of the same as if I join a live Twitch or a YouTube stream and somebody's streaming, they got all these comments and they're doing an inside joke from the last episode that I missed. I'm more inclined to tune out and just say, yeah, I'll exit out and do
Uh,
something else.
I'll let that be. I actually think it's really cool when I will be at work and a conversation will blow up in the Discord that I'm not even a part of.
Yeah.
Uh, that is a sign of a Discord with a critical mass, which uh, I actually set up the Discord. I want to say it was like April of 2020 when not long after I rebooted. It's like, man, I think I need a Discord.
Yeah.
And for a while it was Romega, it was Orzine, and we would like there was an initial rush, but then after the first couple days it kind of like petered out, and then it would be kind of occasionally once or twice a week people pitching in links. But it wasn't until I started streaming that regulars started coming in, and so
Right.
the fact that I could not be in the Discord probably for a couple days, and people would ask where I'm at, but
Yeah.
there would be traffic, and
Yeah.
I have Discords that my friends' Discords, where if no one chats, no one chats, and
Yeah.
you'll see the last timestamp was from a few days ago. So it's cool to have a critical mass to the Discord where there are people in there, and I think being warm and inviting and having this kind of commune, creative, collaborative atmosphere really helps because you're going to get something out of it as well as just having people to chat with.
It is neat. And I can remember the first time you had what was back then the barbecues. And we've talked about bringing those back. And I was in chatting with you and a couple of others. And I was like, I'm talking to the creator. Like, this is wild. This
Yeah.
guy. I mean, when you think of famous YouTubers, Bolty Hound, Orzine, Yahoo Silverman, of course.
Of course.
And then Nith Review, right?
Right.
So I was like, this is wild. But it was also very easy just to kind of get in. So I think for a lot of people, they're looking for that good balance of it and trying to find something that lets them feel heard, but also furthers the conversation. Like, I hate those people who just shut down a conversation inadvertently by steering it back one way or not adding to. And what I like about yours is if I miss it or I don't get to log in for a bit, I do feel like I need to get in there and see what else they're saying.
Right, exactly. And there's a trail. I got into one of the bigger discords the other day, and they're actually big enough that they can use threads where they can
Oh,
have
wow.
breakout conversations that they follow along. So you can just hop into these subfolders in these Discord channels where they just talk about Elden Ring, or they're just dropping their Wordle scores. Because
Yeah.
by default, a Discord thread will automatically terminate after 24 hours.
Okay.
So when you're in a smaller Discord, even one our size,
Yeah.
uh, there's not really a point for that. But to have that kind of functionality, to be able to follow, like, here's this conversation. So we take the middle road of, well, we have an anime channel.
Yeah.
We have the movies and TV shows channel, so it doesn't get lost in the general feed. Because when you're small, if you don't have like one strong channel, it doesn't feel like anything's going on. There's nothing like going into a Discord and there's 30 channels, and
Yeah.
it's clear that no one's
None of
in
them are
any
used
of
to.
them. Yeah, you have to
Yeah.
do that organically.
It has to be there. Speaking of our Discord guy, Sam Allman had asked about some of your all-time favorite games, and he had almost said, "Hey, I'm sorry, this is kind of like a generic question, but I feel the older I get, almost the more liquid my list gets. I have a few that have always hovered at the top, but they kind of place just differently. So off the top of your head, maybe spanning a couple of different eras, what are you thinking for that? What are your
I
favorite games?
I actually maintain a list.
Really?
I haven't revisited it recently.
Raise your hand if you're surprised that he has a list of these.
I want to see those hands. Put them up. I actually started it like 20 years ago or something like that, because I was just I just needed an inventory of games, and I want to say I'm up to 205 games that are listed in there.
Okay.
They don't have scores; they're just a ranking, so it's hard to get a feel for
Right.
the gulfs between quality. But the past couple years, it's been pretty consistent. And so number one is XCOM UFO Defense, of course, the best
Okay.
game of all time. Then
Debatable, but
it's
go ahead.
hang on, I think it's SimCity 2000, Master of Orion, Deus Ex, and Minecraft.
Skotsky says Prey is the best, 2006.
Prey.
Was way better than I thought it would be. I need to get some thoughts to you on that one, but yeah.
Yeah, give me some thoughts. Absolutely, you're you're a contributor, so freaking
Yeah. I'll put some in there on it.
put some in there. I enjoyed my time with it to an extent, but I haven't the outline finished for that review.
Yeah.
So as soon as you guys get the contributions in, because I think the window ends tomorrow night, I will start writing the review.
Yeah.
Barring some of the other interview stuff, and that review. I'm deciding not to do the two praise together. I'll just one after the other. It makes more sense to me mentally.
Yeah. That works.
But yeah. Prey is an interesting game, and I will have an hour and a half long review, I'm sure, about
Yeah.
that.
What about some of the things you watched growing up? One of our longtime regulars goes by the name Romega.
Yeah.
Any of your childhood shows that you enjoyed besides Batman? Are you a Batman fan?
Less than I think I am. I actually,
Okay.
the animated series was huge for me. Like that was really my entry point into
Okay. Did you think
Batman.
it was weird that he had a black and white TV that was remote controlled?
Everything about that show was kind of weird.
A
Yeah.
lot of that was weird. They're like, we want it to be modern, but it's got to be old time. So,
Yeah, it's Art
like,
Deco.
why?
It introduced me to Art Deco and
Yes.
what that entire thing was.
Which was cool until every cartoon started doing that, and then
Yeah.
everybody had those big upper bound guys whose bodies was like four
the
versions of their legs.
trapezoidal. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
The Max Fleischer Superman
Yeah.
kind of thing. And those cartoons are amazing as well. Inspector Gadget, Animaniacs.
Yes. To
Uh,
this day, I contend you can make like a slightly, I don't want to say serious, but you can make a slightly more serious Inspector Gadget game and it would move.
yeah.
Think laser fingers, spring legs, gadget copter. It's built for a prey style neurotechnology style thing of, look, Gadget, your body was damaged. You can only have 5 at a time. Okay, cool. I'll pick this for this mission. Then I'll shuffle them
Yeah.
around.
Yeah, totally. You that is perfect for an immersive sim where you're
That was a
sitting there.
great card. That was honestly the one that I think we both watched would have been, what was the studio that did that? Because it was a very Japanese animation style.
Well, it was Saban produced it. I don't know
Okay.
who actually animated it though.
Yeah. Either way, well, maybe whoever drew it. It was not drawn like American cartoons at the time. It was drawn
No,
different.
and my favorite, one of the coolest bits of animation in that series is actually in the intro, where it's the pan around Penny, and they do it twice. Where she's looking at her book, it's like dot 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 dot, Inspector Gadget,
Yeah.
and it's like it's shot on ones, and it
Yeah.
is really really smooth.
Yeah.
And these days you'd think you would have had to been done by a computer or something, and it's like no.
Mine was the manhole cover that flashes into the flashlight. Like as
Oh,
he's going into an opening, it goes, and then all of
yeah,
a sudden he's moving his flashlight. And it was just,
it was mind blowing.
yeah.
I thought it was a little game breaking when I was watching Garfield and I realized how you determine what part of the background is going to get animated is when
Yes.
it looks it doesn't look painterly, it looks flat and inked.
Yeah.
It's
I'll
like,
have to put there's a clip of that one of these other YouTube guys did recently. And I was like, that's it.
yeah, yeah.
It's like, I
Once
would
you
watch
know, you know.
For me, it's G.I. Joe, right? And they'd be walking in some abandoned, crypt or something, and one of the statues on the wall was drawn lighter, and it's like he's gonna animate and come alive.
Yeah.
You just gotta figure out when.
Yeah, absolutely. And then it's like, oh, I know the magic now. What else
You
was
figured it out.
Yeah,
What
Power
other
Rangers.
cartoons from that side? Power Rangers, okay.
Pinky and the Brain is the best bit of anime. I was talking with someone about Animaniacs. I was like, I didn't
Yeah.
like Rita and Runt.
I
didn't
don't
like
want any of that redone though.
I don't
I wouldn't
either.
even want a new series with if they brought
But they
everybody
did.
back.
They did.
No, I don't want it. No,
Okay.
it's the era was lightning in a bottle.
Yeah, that
Lightning in a
early
bottle. You can't
90s.
capture how the vibe was.
The
It
Tiny
was
Toons.
weird at the time.
Yeah.
Like Animaniacs or
Freakazoid.
yeah, Freakazoid was hysterical. I
Yeah.
can't believe they got away with that.
I can't either. That show has no nutritional value whatsoever, but it was so amazing.
What about
that-
I'm just was it Invader Zim?
That was a little too late for me.
Okay. I didn't get to that until later.
Yeah,
But it was the same kind
SpongeBob.
of vibe. He was real weird. Yeah, no, way too old for that.
Yeah, so actually, interesting. I was too old for SpongeBob, but SpongeBob is for everyone.
Yeah, evidently.
Yeah.
I literally have never seen an episode.
Oh
I've
my
seen
god.
plenty of clips. I've seen plenty of animations and GIFs, but no. It's
Uh,
just
Star Trek Next Generation was big in our house. We watched that
Okay.
every single week.
absolutely. So off the top of your head, Star Trek or Star Wars?
Both. I know that's
Cheater.
a cop out, but it's
Yes.
both.
Okay.
Because one's hard, that's how they separate out. Star Trek is hard science fiction. Star Wars is fantasy.
Yes.
And so if you want the heady exploration of what science fiction was before it became about light swords and
Right.
spaceships, when it was like
Right.
there's math involved and
And the prime
ethics
directive and
and
what
social
you write.
parameters. Yeah, that's Star Trek. But if you
Yeah.
want like, man, I need a roller coaster of a freaking space thing, that's Star Wars.
Right.
And apples oranges.
It is. It really is. I always said, if diplomacy is your thing and you like to hear, is an android a human being with rights or not?
Right.
Next Generation. I love it. Nothing will ever approach Next Generation for me in terms of sci-fi. But at the same time, original series Star Wars had AT-ATs, and that's arguably the coolest science fiction thing ever.
That's very true. And the last third of Return of the Jedi, when they've got the trifecta battle going on, the space battle around the Death Star 2 is, in my mind, one of the most formative sequences of any movie.
Yeah.
Because they have the space battle, these ships moving around, everything, and then they're going inside the Death Star.
Yeah.
All through, I don't even know how you would navigate that by hand.
Yeah.
clearly they made it up. But that when you're in that central area, that atrium where they're blowing up the core and then escaping, and because that would inform games like X-Wing and TIE Fighter and stuff like, and I grew up on those.
And that's not even touching the musical score.
No,
Because
absolutely
that
not.
also, because think about how many times you've played an okay game, but was either improved or made horribly worse by the music or lack thereof, right?
Absolutely.
Like when you get into those 10 stones, like Metroid for me was one of the first where the music was like, oh, dude, I'm scared now, or oh, I'm on the edge of my seat.
Yeah, XCOM UFO Defense is the same way. It's MIDI, but it's got like these resonant chimes. It's like dee 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 dee. I think it came out around the same time as X-Files.
Yeah.
And so they both have that really creepy, like the square waves and the the
I
bass
played
lines.
Space Quest games had that. Those
Yeah.
old Sierra. They would have these weird little deals like that, trinkly sounds, and sometimes you'd be, oh, I'm safe here, and then a plant would eat you.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. But then there's also the people who will just. It's cool to love a soundtrack, but it's not that cool to like foist it on others. It's like,
Right.
no, man, the Final Fantasy VI soundtrack is the best. You gotta listen to this. And it's like, no,
Yeah,
I
so
don't.
and so's theme, man. That's the only one.
Yeah, Sephiroth.
Yep.
Is yeah, it's cool to understand it in the context
Yeah.
of the game, but I can't. There are like no game soundtracks where I can pop up on Spotify and be like, I'm just gonna listen to this.
I've got a few, but they're normally super indie, kind of weird games where the soundtrack just kind of plays in the back. The one that comes to mind is Machinarium. And it was
Okay.
a really neat little indie problem solver, but the music in the back is just almost down-tempo chill stuff. So I could do
Yeah.
that, but a lot of the other ones, I like the old Nintendo games remixes. Like I would go way
Sure.
back in the day on the Napsters,
Yeah.
go back and look up. Somebody would do a Double Dragon theme and they'd remix it, and I was like, that's just cool. And I would have, folders full of MP3s that I could only play sitting at my computer because iPods weren't a thing yet. But
Right.
it was so neat to have them.
Oh, and to have, I remember my first MP3 player was a PDA.
Oh wow.
And it had 32 megabytes of storage on it, which only 20 megabytes were free because you had to put your apps on there too. So I I would be able to put my favorite 4 or 5 favorite songs, and thankfully
Yeah.
they were the radio ready 3 to 4 minutes
Yes.
long, and then every like once or twice a week I would swap out a song, put in a new one, and then I went out and splurged. I think it was like $50 or $60. And I bought a 128 megabyte compact flash card for the expansion slot. So then I could
Wow.
put on at least a dozen more. It was
Yeah.
that was my first MP3 player. I
Yeah.
listened to that on the way to and from school.
That would require a lot of balancing act for you.
Yeah, because I had a CD player. I asked for a CD player for Christmas, but then I would get halfway to school and the skip protection would end.
Yeah.
And I'm just walking. I'm not doing
Yeah.
anything. I'm just walking, and the skip protection would end.
Yeah, I had a CD player like that in college. I remember trying to walk around with it, and you didn't want to have to hold it like this, but because mine was in a super hilly area, and
Yeah.
I couldn't just throw it in the backpack, so I'd have to almost kind of put it in my hand and kind of carry it like this. It was the small one. It's like textbook size maybe.
Yeah.
Which,
When-
again,
when we tangent here, when
Yeah.
we drove to Illinois on a vacation, we went on a road trip across Iowa, and we got a CD player for the car, and it had no skip protection. So as soon as we hit a bump in the road, it would skip, and we'd be listening to Weird Al,
Yeah.
and songs in the key of Springfield.
Okay.
On the way, and Mom would have to diligently hold the CD player to buffer it. As my mom was a suspension
Oh,
device for
no.
a CD player in
oh,
'93.
dedicated mom. That's awesome.
Dedicated mom, love you, Mom. Mwah.
Yes, very impressive there. We have this other guy, Yahoo Silverman.
The Yahoo's Silvermans.
I believe so. Famous for the echo chamber.
Yes. Bing, bing.
Wants to know when you're going to review Honey Pop or Galgun. He seems to really be into that.
Yeah. I'm not entire. I want to say I did a video for Flesh Eating Zipper on one of the Galaga. They did a Galaga re-release or just a new
Yeah.
version for XBLA. It's not the same. I get it.
No, it'll be different.
Yeah, it'll
It'll
be
be.
different. But yeah, you can submit ideas all the time
Did
to
you do any of
Patreon.
those anime manga games that are kind of like air quote games and plenty of fan service and all those other weird things?
Not a thing. That is something I enjoy vicariously through Yahoo or other.
Yeah.
I didn't get into the anime thing, honestly. When I was in high school, Toonami had picked up,
Yeah.
so a lot of people were getting into anime and Dragon Ball Z and all that. But I totally skipped over
Missed
that.
it. Yeah.
Yeah. So I didn't get into any of those. So while people were watching Cowboy Bebop or
Yeah.
getting into that, it took me a long time before I even saw Akira or Ghost in the
Man, that was
Shell.
life changing. I showed my daughter and I said, look, if nothing else, because I didn't learn until decades later, they took chunks out to squeeze it into a movie. So it really doesn't make a lot of sense. But I said,
From the
just
manga.
focus. Right. They took chunks from the manga out and then they put it in for anime and it doesn't work as well. But the art and the style and the backgrounds always blows me away. Every time I see that, it
Yes,
just is so cool. That was pivotal.
the animation in Akira is absolutely mind blowing,
Yeah.
and um, I, I really want to see some form of. If you don't know who Kirby is, that's
There you go.
there you go.
Showing you his best aspects there.
I really want to see Richard Williams' Prince and the Pauper,
Yeah.
which what I there are bits of it online, but it's some of the best animation I've ever seen in anything, and
Yeah.
it's tied to terrible songs and what's mostly a terrible movie. And apparently they've like rush housed it through Miramax in the early '90s. But anyway,
Yeah.
anime. No, yeah, I have not found my hook into that. Occasional like thing here and there, but otherwise, between Yahoo and Action Button, I watched the entire Tokimeki Memorial review
Yeah.
from Action Button. It is the most incredible thing. I loved every last bit of it. That's a 5 or 6 hour review there.
Yeah. Those are tough ones. What do you think about some of the game tie-ins? Yahoo was also asking, you get stuff like there's a movie and then sometimes they do a tie-in and he specifically mentioned Chronicles of Riddick. And assuming he says that they get the mechanics right, put all that aside, what do you think might be well served by a media that would have a game tie-in?
It's so hard to say. I remember 15 years ago when the uh, the license properties. There was a company that started up in 2007 or 2008. I think it was called Crave
Yeah.
or something. That was like a bunch of ex Warner Brothers people. They started a publisher slash developer that was focused exclusively on licensed properties. And after a couple years, they went bottom up because licensed properties went bottom up. THQ, their big thing was licensed property, all the Nickelodeon games.
Right.
And so when those dried up, so did THQ. And I think he mentions Chronicles of Riddick, but that was really an exception.
Yeah, I think so. And
Uh,
maybe run with a question like that. Like, let's assume you have the backing and the writing and whatnot. Because sometimes it really does work well to flesh out movies by having a book or a comic or something
right.
that let you know, hey, in between episode 4 and 5, this was going on.
Right. And I think, especially with Star Wars, they've really found a way to expand
Yeah.
that in ways that I would have really loved as a kid. And I think as an adult, it's like, oh, that's a corporate product. Good
Yes.
freaking job,
Yes,
Uh,
it's like, let's see, do we have plucky underhero, some kind of tiny marketable sidekick that bleeps and blibbles and
comic
whatever?
relief.
Yep.
Yeah, that's what's made everyone very sour on the sequel trilogy. And I don't know. It has. So, sequel trilogy and prequel trilogy had the opposite problem, right? Like, prequel trilogy had a really interesting story and a base, but the execution was fumbled. And then the sequel trilogy, the execution is amazing, but the underlying story, because there was no arc or plan or anything,
Yeah.
sucks.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think that's why we appreciate the prequels now in the way we didn't then, and
Well
then
said.
the sequel trilogy may never see its kind of righteous
Yeah.
retribution because it's a
Yeah.
freaking mess. Uh, but as far as like tie-ins, it's so hard to say.
Yeah.
In again, as a kid, I'd think like, man, I would love a sequel to this. I would love an extension to that. And now that it seems like, nothing is ever coming in, and everything is just staying. That the pool is not changing the water at all.
Yeah, I feel that especially in terms of intellectual properties that we're getting retreads and reboots, and we're
Right.
not getting a lot of risk.
More aggressively than ever. I mean, there are plenty of examples through Hollywood history where it's like they were sitting there in the 80s and 70s rebooting stuff from the 40s and 30s, like The Thing, and what have you. But nowadays, it just seems like that's just how you do it. You take what you already have and you expand it because people like it. And so now I'm kind of like, maybe I don't want tie-ins. Maybe I want to hear new voices and hear new ideas and not have
Well,
everything consolidated into a pyramid.
do you remember Star Wars on the Nintendo 64? Did you ever play that one?
I know, like Shadows of the Empire.
Yeah. Okay. So if you know of it, you know you're not
Yeah.
Luke, you're not Han, and that was all we
Right.
knew back then. You're
were
some
Dash
guy named
Rendar.
Dash Rendar.
Yeah.
But when it came out, I was like, I want to be Luke.
Yeah.
But that was a neat way to get more Star Wars story where you knew the rules,
Yeah.
right, of the universe. So, like, for example, we've talked about a lot in Deus Ex. What if in the next Deus Ex game you're not Jensen, you're somebody else that's just in that universe? I
Right.
think there's room for that to happen.
1000% agree. You going but Star Wars mid 90s LucasArts when they were expanding that universe.
Yeah.
One of my favorite games was TIE Fighter. You were playing this pilot named Merritt Steele, something like that.
Okay.
Who basically has no arc through the game. It's all in the strategy guide. You have to buy the
Oh.
strategy guide for the missions to really make sense.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I know. It's back in that era. But Dark Forces. One of my favorite parts of that, you play Kyle Katarn, you're stealing the Death Star plans, which is the actual canon of how the Death Star plan. It's not the Rogue One and the Jyn Erso and Andor up in the tower with the Alan Tudyk droid. It's Kyle Katarn stole those plans in the first mission, and he had a blaster. He was a blaster man. But then in the sequel, what do they do? They make him a freaking Jedi because people wanted to play a Jedi. And it's like, I didn't want that. I don't want to hear about the Jedi or their order or Sith or whatever. And then by the time Knights of the Republic came out, it's like, that's fine, whatever. But for Jedi Knight, it was like, no.
Yeah.
I
Like, I had often thought, what if there's a game called, like, Rebel Soldiers, and all you are is those grunts, and every now and then, literally in the background, you'll see Luke or somebody fly through, go, and they're gone, and you're like, wow.
Yeah.
All right,
just
back
a
to my
cameo.
dinky blaster here, or, I mean,
Yeah.
you could do so much more than they are.
They absolutely could, and I think they're kind of doing that with Star Wars again with like the Mandalorian, but then they're doing Boba Fett, and it's like, let him go, let him be alone. Expand the universe and send it in different places. That was my big complaint about Halo 4. Actually, was Halo 3. You get to the end there, you go through this portal, and you think, man, Master Chief could be on the other side of the freaking galaxy, encountering all these strange new places, and then you start Halo 4, and you're fighting Covenant again, and you're driving Warthogs, and it's like, no.
Yeah.
So that was really big disappointment. I'll make a review about that someday.
There you go. We'll make another live rant on that one, just all that by itself.
Oh, you know it. It's like a Breaking Bad episode says high functioning medium and not high frequency medium in here. So many badass bald dudes in one place.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So when you're looking at all that you got accomplished here, and on my screen it shows it at 5.08 thousand, so you're still growing.
Yeah.
What do you think would have to happen for you to get to do this full time? I'm sure you've run the numbers. You're a logistics type of guy. what would need to line up in the next however many months to years for you to full time work on the channel?
I don't. I do. I think about it regularly, yes. But I don't. I don't have a number quite yet. And the thing is, it's less than I think it is, or it's less than I think a lot of people think it is. Because it's not like I need to be rich. I just
Right.
need to be able to pay my bills, take care of the critters, and then have health insurance. He got into a corner over here.
Nice.
And then be able to buy equipment and do stuff like that.
Right.
But that was actually one of my pitches early on with Patreon, and I don't know, yeah, mostly with Patreon. I guess some other. I'm thinking a little more broadly. It's like I don't need that much to be full time and do this. If I
Yeah.
have if I were full time and then it grew from that, but it's like then I would be able to get someone else on board. Like that would actually be a second priority beyond the whole company setting up stuff. Would be getting a second person on and then like a third person on. I told Rain like a year ago, it's like I want a team before a Tesla. And I know a lot of YouTubers, as soon as they'll blow up and they'll have tons of money and they'll buy a McLaren or whatever. But I really am more interested in having a shared space, whether, well, physically I would love to I just have a physical space to go to where I could mentally stop working and then come home to a place where I am not working, which is
Yeah.
harder to do when you work from home.
I bet it is.
But to have a physical space and in a virtual space where there are people who are regularly were working together, it's kind of like I did on Flesh Eating Zipper back in the day, and we can work through this. We can isolate for a bit while we mainline and get our work done, and then come back together, and then have things like this where we can chill out for an afternoon and do Q&As.
Right.
I think this would even be fun going forward. And I know we're doing the interviews with the Creator Corner.
Yes.
Being able to talk to people and hear their stories and constantly bring new people in. So I think by the time we hit 50,000 subscribers, I think I could be already full-time by then.
Yeah.
But it's playing the videos because each video takes 2, 3, 4 months to put together, and if it doesn't blow up, it's like, well, it's going to be another 2, 3, 4 months before I get another shot
Yeah.
at doing it. So having content out more regularly, being able to talk with people, I think that's a big deal. And I think that's kind of what I was trying to do with streams last year was, hey, here's a weekly thing. But YouTube is really still kind of siloed in that regard. It's like, man, I signed up. I really want to watch your 3-4 hour reviews, but I'm not really into the streaming thing, so I'm not really gonna watch that. And I totally 1000% get it. Like I've subscribed to hundreds of people on YouTube, and they'll be like, this person's live now, and they're playing whatever, or they're just chatting. It's like, I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm cool.
Yeah.
So I don't know the exact number, but it's not a huge number. It really is not. And if you go to patreon.com/thenth-review, you can help make those dreams come true, and I'll be able to tackle all the crazy, weird ideas I have and review massive series that won't take half a year to do.
Exactly. Right. And it is tricky. Like Half Bacon in our chat here is saying so many creators who cannot delegate their work and burn out or just become really slow. And
1000%. Absolutely.
And you of course are a guy who is not going to sacrifice quality for speed or frequency of releases.
Yeah, which that's one of the cool things, pieces of feedback I got in, I want to say the beginning of 2021 after I'd gotten Thief done, because as I was working on Thief, I wasn't doing much of anything else except for Patreon, the Q&As that I did monthly. There was like no output. I just disappeared from the outside. And there was a point where I asked, I'm like, guys, do you want me to do more frequent content? Like, mentally I'm already having the debate. It's like, I've got to mix it up. I got to show that I'm doing something so people don't think I'm in a, in trouble or
Right.
not doing something. And supporters, you guys told me, like, hey, do what you need to do.
Yeah.
And because we know it's going to come out. And it's going to come out great. And I'm thankful for that, to not have to be on that weekly churn because that's where the position I put myself into 2 years ago, where I was doing weekly videos or twice weekly videos just to see if I needed to for the
Right.
algorithm to keep
Right.
attention.
Because you also experimented with the shorts during that time.
Yeah, a little bit.
Around
Yes,
there?
yeah, you're
Okay, yeah.
right. Yeah, absolutely. The ones that were only 3 minutes long,
Yeah.
and it was cool to then be like, I came into this wanting to make really long ass videos,
Right.
even when I didn't know how to make really long ass videos, and now everyone's telling me just make those long ass videos. So
Yeah.
everything else I do is just me having fun, wanting to mix it up,
Yeah.
and it's cool to have 5,000 subscribers who are like, let's do this.
Right.
Let's do it that way.
The other part is not everybody is aware, but like in the 15th century and a little forward from there, that's where we saw the emergence of patrons. And they would pay and support artists to literally make art. And some were supported by one or two families, some were supported by multiples. There's a couple famously that would support a painter, and I forget who it was, but he said he had a backer paying for him, say with the condition that he would never meet in real life, and didn't want anything to do, just wanted that artist to be able to make their stuff. And it worked so well because you cut them loose, and then they're making art for the benefit of everybody.
Right.
And they weren't living necessarily all like kings and things, but then that enables somebody like Michelangelo or Da Vinci say, look, do you want one statue, I don't know, every year? Or do you want a whole bunch of mini drawings every week? And that's
Right.
kind of what y'all are facing. And some of those bigger guys that are out there right now can drop a video maybe once a month and hit 1 million views.
Yeah.
But they had to build up to it, and they had to play the game and all. But I guess I say all that to say it feels like, to me, supporting people is your way of telling them, we like what you're doing. I get pleasure out of it. I'd rather give you $1 than any of these other extra streams or some other thing where I don't have much of a say in it. And then we all benefit from whatever it is that you're creating.
Right. And thank you for that context. Actually, that really does really reframe the entire thing, especially as like there are so many, like every YouTube creator, well, every kid now wants to be a YouTube creator, and then every YouTube creator wants to be a full-time YouTube creator, and I want everyone to succeed, provided you're acting in good faith, right?
Right.
But at the same time, the hill is only so large, and it's like some people are going to get in, some people are not, and it's unfortunate. People should be able to express themselves artistically, and not have to donate most of their productive week to someone
Right.
else for some job that is not helping them grow as an artist or as a person. You're just helping someone else get rich. That's mind-blowingly frustrating.
Yeah.
How that works. And so I guess the idea of having just all these just tiny supporters, letting them have a voice. We were talking earlier about, who's showing up to just say make your art, and who's showing up to say I want a piece of the pie.
Right.
There's a thing where it's like eventually there could be 100 or 1,000 patrons, and wanting them to make sure that they still feel in the end that they can still contribute, that they're not just giving, because that's a thing I've heard from even some of my patrons is, man, this guy's already getting $7,000-8,000 a month or whatever. I'll switch my $5 a month to the Nth Review, and thank you. And I know that as transit into that space, it's like the Nth Review's doing good. My dream is that even if I'm making $7,000 a month, which is that's so
Right.
many dollars, that I still have something for you, and I'm still
Yeah.
connected. And I think that's one of the cool things about the Discord and having these places here where, yo, come in here and you belong.
Yeah.
This is a community. We're inclusive. I want to hear new voices. I want to give you a voice. I want to support you. So if you have distinct opinions that are not in bad faith, come in here. Let's help you out. Let's help each other out. And
Meet some other people. I've joined some other Discords from people like High Functioning Medium, who's on here earlier, that I met in your Discord. So it's almost like networking. It's making friends.
1000%. Absolutely. And so being able to have these people together is really cool.
Yeah.
I love it.
It's been great. It works well.
Mm-hmm.
I'm guessing we might be kind of reaching a good natural wrap-up spot here. I didn't know how long you were seeing it run.
We're at an hour and a half.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
That's amazing. I'll throw you one or two more in case somebody else wants to ask a couple more while we're going, and then maybe kind of get ready. Look, there's Bolty.
There's Bolty to cause chaos, of course.
Everywhere Bolty goes, there's chaos.
Yeah, she's just bolting everywhere and causing hounds.
Chaos arrows. So here's one of the things that kind of popped in my head while we were talking, right? I'm a teacher, and I got my own teenagers here.
Mm-hmm.
What would your 6th, 7th, and 8th grade years have been like if you had one of our, a modern phone with TikTok and Twitter and all that stuff? What would your world have been like?
To be honest, it'd be very underground and hard to say. When I was not that young, but like more 9th, 10th grade, I got onto Newgrounds, and I had a pirated version of Flash, which was just the downloadable demo that you cracked open, and then it became the full version.
Oh, wow.
It worked. It was functionally identical. It didn't expire after 30 days. But I was making Flash cartoons, and those were my first movies ever.
Really?
Yeah.
You still have those anywhere?
Yeah.
Okay.
I still have even all the root files and everything. So maybe I'll throw them on Internet Archive or something at some point.
I've got to imagine the internet needs those.
Yeah, I'm sure they do. I have everything going back decades. It's really cool.
Okay.
But and I re-rendered them when that got easier in Flash into a couple of them, the bigger ones anyway. I put them on my personal YouTube, so we can throw those in there as well. But that was me. My parents supported me, but they wanted me to go into the military. And I was like, I don't want to go into the military. I want to be an animator. I want to make movies. Yeah. And so all the creative stuff I kind of did underground. So if I had a smartphone, I would try kind of be I was a very anxious child, and I didn't know I had anxiety, so it was very hard for me to call people, to connect with them,
right,
and network with people. I think these days it'd be easier because Facebook lowers that. It's not just sending emails, because that's what I had was AOL. Like, give me your AOL name and we can chat on AOL Instant Messenger. I think.
Do you think you'd have been doing all that during class? Because that's the biggest thing for me, and kids don't know. Like, if this is the book or whatever we're writing, and I see this, I know what you're doing. It's obvious. They don't get it. And so
the teacher knows.
Explain it. Yes, it's like, imagine that. So, do you think you would have been that guy trying to, sneak a listen to a new song or share a file with your friend during class?
I would have probably snuck, like, if there was something I know I have to send this file off, otherwise it's gonna take however long, much longer to get something kicked up. But I think I would have spent some time organizing that stuff. Even these days at work, I typically don't do anything on my phone until I'm on break. I've got the Protestant work ethic, or it's like if they see me not on top of it, even if I see other people like, I get kind of judgmental, even though I'm totally like, I'm with you there.
Well, I got really good. If I have to text the family or something, I'll walk around the classroom on text and I'll kind of go,
giving all your secrets.
Oh, I guess I'm gonna need 50 copies, maybe. Okay, like that. And then the kids are probably like, oh, he's just doing teacher things.
Yeah, and it's not Yahoo Silverman or anything.
Yeah.
But I think if I were younger, I would absolutely. take advantage of that, and maybe it would have helped me overcome my anxiety in the way that this has here, even through chat and Patreon, to be able to talk to people and then organize things and like, hey, let's go shoot a film in the neighborhood. Yeah. We've all got cameras, because that's kind of what we did with the short films. We didn't have smartphones yet in 2007. We had we went out and bought $1,500 hard drive camcorders.
Wow.
And we did that. Yeah, exactly.
I remember one of the first digital ones I had the floppies, and I've got these amazing coasters now.
Oh hell yeah! Oh,
they are awesome. And this
is when you went to the Art Institute.
Is that the jump? No, that's the
zip disk. Yeah, this is 100 megabytes. It's dead now, but
this is 1.44
megabytes.
As I used to, and I was trying to tell my daughter, when I was in college and even in grad school, I would save my work to here, take it up to the school campus and print it. And at least one time got a weird virus that way and brought it home, and my icons disappeared, and I had to run out and buy a Norton's. And
oh no.
All those, but again, that's another tangent.
Yeah, this zip disk that I use as a coaster now, that was when you went to the Art Institute and you got their $700 kit within the huge bag. They gave you a zip disk to store your homework and move it between computers. And then when I got my iPod, which was almost $400, it had 20 gigabytes in there.
Yeah.
And I would work on a file at school, a flash file or something, load it to the iPod, listen to music on the way home, and then plug it back into my computer and do that. And this was in 2002, 2003. Yeah. Yeah. Those were the days.
That's the days.
Yeah.
In terms of the different guys that are out there on YouTube, it's kind of like music industry where sometimes it's neat or hip to cross collab, and they might bring somebody in. And I always like it. I watched a guy for a while, Matt McMuscles, who did a lot of neat videos, especially wrestling stuff. And he'd grab a wrestling guy and say, now we're going to throw to so-and-so, and he'd do a little bit. Is there anybody like that you'd really like to collaborate with, or anybody you'd want to either do a join video, be the guest commentator on a certain spot? Anybody like that?
I've thought about that. I always, as you know, I will employ people from time to time for voiceovers or bits, or stuff like that, and I want to do that more and more with each video. And so I'm trying. I kind of sometimes I'll eke in that way, but then and this is something I thought about a couple years ago, because when you're starting out and you're kind of learning YouTube for realsies, which is what I did not do for many years, people are like, man, collab, get with someone, and then you're sharing and spreading it that way. And the way that I make videos, it's very hard to do that.
Yeah.
Because it is very vertical. I can't, it's unless I have a plan for everything in that video that I spent a long time making. And so it's very hard for me to toss it to someone else for 5 or 10 minutes and then have their content fit in with that. And I'm opening a mind to that. I have ideas for that for specific games and specific reviews that I think I could pull that off, but for the most part I can't bring someone in unless they are abiding by this very kind of rigid structure that I do. So I am trying to be more flexible with that, because when those pull off, when those work, they really work.
They do,
but I can't just
when they're shoehorned in. You can tell.
Yeah, exactly. When it's clear, like, all right, well, I'm gonna disappear for the next 10 minutes. See you after this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's tougher.
Yeah, it would be neat though. I could see it. Sometimes there's like I don't want to say a plug and play or a drop in, but sometimes they'll say, if I'm doing something that you've already covered, I might could say, I've asked Nick to chime in real quickly and say his 2 bits here. Go ahead. And then I could throw in a minute and a half of you doing a thing, and then it clips back. I go, thanks, and then kind of keep moving.
Yeah.
But you're right. It is It's a tricky balance, and it's when it's done well. To me, it's the same as music. When it's done well, when that artist is there to add something to the track, it's great. But if you're like
Right.
an up and comer and you're like, hey, let me punch up by grabbing this guy, it feels like it's just a coattail.
Yeah, you're just and now I want to do a guitar solo
Right.
for the next
Right.
20 minutes. High functioning medium brought up the G-Man Lives thing.
Oh yeah.
That was so cool. I was waiting. That's one of those bits I was like, I'm waiting for them to find it. I'm waiting for them to get far deep enough into this, because it's like an hour and 24 minutes into the review. That was we'd follow each other on Twitter. He knew about me. He watches the videos to some extent, and I was like, yo, I've got this idea for this bit. What do you think? And he's like, oh, that could be really cool, yo. And
Spot
so
on there.
yeah, absolutely. But I wrote out the script. I had already had it at that point. I was writing the script, and I think I honestly I let him know 2 weeks ahead of time. I was in the outline phase. I'm like, I want to do this bit. I want to do it with G-Man.
Yeah.
So when I get to that point in the script, I will write it out. Here we go. And that gave me enough time because it took him a little bit to get back. By the time I got it, it was ready to go. It was the right time. And it just worked. So then it was just a matter of editing it in. And that worked out so cool. That was really fun. And I want to do more of that. Not just more popular people, but like I said, just through the Patreon contributions. People being able to chime in with theirs. For now, it's text. I think maybe in the future people could. Because I think some people could be really... Yeah, so Prey 2006, I think. I think it was my favorite game.
Yeah.
It's like, maybe we'll start with words and text, and we'll go from there.
Yeah. And in our chat, High Functioning Medium mentioning the biggest challenge is appropriately contextualizing what they have to offer. And not just like, hey, it's a cute idea, but this person has an insight that you may not.
Right.
And that's the same thing. Like, I always think, like I watch, if I'm watching an NFL game and they throw to their rules analyst, it's because he has a higher knowledge and he can, share that with them and kind of distill down what they're stuck on. So if you're reviewing a thing and this guy's got it, bring him in. But
Right.
if it's not just, hey, I'm going to throw to you because you're my buddy, or you've asked me a billion times in the Discord, can I please feature you? Then, that kind of defeats the purpose of it.
Right, like you have all this tremendous insight on music and performing live and stuff. I mean, you got your guitar in the frame. We made sure that you got the guitar.
Sure.
You got your amp over to your right. You can barely see it in the frame there, but like everyone, like not everyone's a Picasso, but they have their niche, and they may have something genuinely cool to contribute, and it's like, bring them on your team. Not everyone's a quarterback. Some
Right.
are the tackles or sports.
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 Beat me to it. Amazing. Well, anything else you got there? I had scribbled down notes on the back of a calendar. That's how I take.
I saw you referencing it, and I was like, is that a full like journalist notepad you got going on there?
No, I have no idea how old, but it is one of the hardest calendars I got.
Oh, okay,
Got,
gotcha.
like weird little brain teasers of words, and this one says embroidery. Find a 8-letter word, and the theme is school.
Oh,
You know what I
okay.
mean? And it's just like, I have no idea. But I was raised by an artist, and she never threw away paper. So on the back of it now,
You just use the paper.
yeah,
Yeah,
I
I've
just
got.
scribbled down, and it just sits
Post-it
over here.
notes.
So I just scribbled a few things in as we were thinking, and tried to write down all the questions. If I missed your question, and you're online, and I truly apologize,
write it
but we
down.
hopefully have another chance to come back.
I got some post-it notes. My aunt.
Nebraska,
Yeah, Nebraska.
University of Nebraska, right? I didn't know you were a fan.
I lived there for a number of years, so I should be a Cornhusker. Husker fan.
Yeah.
Blasphemy if you aren't.
Right.
Just don't play the game. Did you have any final thoughts? You've obviously been peppering me, and thank you so much for being the MC. This has been really, really fun.
I enjoyed this. It was really neat to kind of get to test my mettle on it. You and I have talked so many times about various things. We both seem to be kindred spirits in the sense of we know vaguely what we're capable of.
Right.
We know vaguely what we would like to do. We're always working on getting that realized. And I like to chat like this. I like to do the video and whatever else I can to facilitate. I'm doing professional development in my career as a teacher, and I get to go speak publicly. I'm always comfortable with it, even if I'm not necessarily the best. I'm hoping I remember to move my mouth. I used to take speech in college as for a language objective, and the first feedback was move your mouth when you speak. Later on, he goes, remember, and then by the end, he would write move in all caps, your mouth, because I would kind of get up there and just, So, yeah, and I've been a preacher and song leader and a bunch of other stuff here and there, so it's a neat thing to get to do, and I appreciate you, speaking of coattails, let me kind of write on yours a bit, because this let me be creative for a while, and hopefully help you out in the channel.
Yeah, I know how hard that can get when it's like, where's the outlet? Where am I going to be able to plug myself in? Oh my goodness. Do you have anything that you'd like to plug? Anything that you're working on and like future plans?
I'm on YouTube as Just a Bald Guy, and I will periodically put some stuff out there. Yahoo Silverman has been very kind to let me post some writing on his echo chamber. We could probably drop a link in for that.
Yep.
I'm hoping to get some of my music up again. If you go to Bandcamp, I think it's just bandcamp.com/James Wyatt, which is my street name. And you can see some of my work on it. And it's just, again, right now it's mostly putting in stuff to have it done. Like you and I have also talked. Sometimes I've recorded songs just because I had to. And not necessarily that it'll see the light of day or anybody hears it, but it's just because I had it.
Yes, it doesn't fall out of your brain in any other way.
Right. And then if nothing else, my children have it later on. I got 3 teenage daughters, and eventually they might look back and go, wow, Dad, this is a part of Dad we didn't always know or see. So it's just those kind of things. And then if other stuff pops up, I'm sure we'll be able to continue to share it on here. And all these guys are they're going to want to come back when we do those creator interviews and see the way that we flesh those out.
Absolutely. Yeah, we're recording a couple over the next few weeks, and then when I'm comfortable and can start stitching them together a little bit, I'm doing the Mark Maron. If you listen to Mark Maron, the WTF podcast, that's definitely been a huge influence. So I'm gonna make intros and outros for those, but otherwise everything in between will just be straight up interview. And I want to put a few of those in the can, and then we'll release them weekly. And go from there. Obviously, I'm working on Prey 2006 right now. Like I said, I'm about to start writing the script, and that should be out. Gosh, because it should be up before the end of May.
Yeah.
We'll have number 17 out there, and then I've already started recording Prey 2017, which will be the one right after that, and then that should be before the end of August, or so. And so constantly busy. Creator Corner interviews are on the way. Hop in that Discord. If you haven't clicked the like button, I see we're up to 8. That's awesome. If you're in the chat right now, just slip your cursor on down there and click that like button. If you're not subscribed, hey.
I put the Discord link in there earlier.
Yes.
You got it on hand. Somebody else can scroll back. We can
add
you there.
In, get that invite. In there, hop in that Discord. We are in there every single day posting our Wordles.
Yeah.
And chatting it up and supporting each other. So if you just need
and a large amount of creators starting to swing by. You can meet a lot of people, get input, advice, suggestions.
Yeah, absolutely. Or you just like, hey man, I just finished this up. Check it out. Like, cool. We're always taking in new content. And I didn't have it up here for the listing, but my Patreon supporters, and Baldy, you are one as well. Thank you so much for supporting me. 5,000 subs is a huge milestone, and I know it's slowing down a little bit now, but that's just what it does. As the channel grows, stuff like this we're going to be able to look at it and be like, man, don't you remember when we were in that apartment and we were doing that, and you were having to fumble around with stuff and Kirby kept meowing and all that stuff. Like, we're gonna look back fondly on
Right.
these things, and
You'll have like a new mic, but the same robe.
or I'm just gonna keep this one, and it's gonna be a prop like on every late night show. And
Yes,
it looks
yeah,
like I'm
wow,
talking.
that's a great idea. You
Yeah,
totally need to do that.
Exactly. Yeah, the microphone is actually in my throat.
Right. Yeah. The screen will be on the glasses by then.
Exactly. Yeah.
We'll finally
live
have
view.
our domed cars like we were talking about.
And they're flying.
Yes.
And they're called the Homer. But thank you so much to my producers, my assistant producers, my producers, and eventually I'll have executive producers as well. Even my Foam Finger fans who are just contributing. They just want to see more Nth Reviews stuff. Thank you so much. You are helping to make this real. You're allowing Baldy to be here. And the art to happen, and the lights to stay on, and the critters to be fed, and all that. You guys are making it real. So thank you so much. And I'm looking forward in the next 3 weeks when we reach 10,000 subs and we're back here again doing this exact same thing. We're going to have new Q&As, but a lot more subscribers, and it's going to be amazing. So thank you so much. So with all that, did you have any last words, Mr.
Thank
Baldy?
you said it perfectly. Thank you said it great.
All right, let's get out of here. Thanks again. Watch the VOD, hit that like button, subscribe, and do it all for the algorithm. Pew, 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 pew.